The door chimes softly as the old man walks in. He doesn't demand attention, he simply exists, and everything about his presence makes the room feel quieter. Worn boots, jeans patched at the knee, a faded brown leather jacket that's seen more years than half the people working behind the counter. His face is weathered, eyes sharp beneath the brim of a Navy SEAL cap, and though he moves slowly, his limp is unmistakable, yet not pitiful. He doesn't glance around. He doesn't look for attention. He walks straight to the counter, rests his hand on the glass, and waits. The younger clerk looks up from his phone, gives him a forced smile. "Need something, sir?" The old man nods, voice even, "Yeah." "Wondering if you still carry the Monet Garand replica from the back wall, the real stock model." The clerk blinks, clearly caught off guard. "That's a collector's piece. Not something you'd want to fire." The old man's eyes never waver. "I didn't ask to fire it. I just wanted to hold it for a moment. Haven't touched one in decades." Another clerk, a little older, steps in with a chuckle. "That rifle's heavier than it looks, Pops. Might be a bit much for your back." The old man doesn't smile. His voice remains calm, controlled. "I used to carry one across jungles. I think I can manage it across a showroom." That's when the tone shifts. The first clerk laughs too loudly. "Okay, Rambo. Unless you're buying, you're just taking up space. Let the real customers in." 0.5. The second clerk adds, "Yeah. We're not a museum." Quote, "No, not help." For a moment, it looks like the old man might say something, perhaps correct them, remind them of who he was, but instead, he simply looks down at the counter, nods once, and says, "Understood." 0.5. He turns and walks out without protest. No anger. No demand to speak to the owner. Just a slow walk back toward the edge of a world that had forgotten what men like him gave for it. Inside, the clerks return to their phones. They don't notice the woman by the ammo rack. She's in her mid-30s, wearing a gym shirt from the 1930s, a ball cap pulled low. She watches silently as the old man leaves. They don't notice her step outside 2 minutes later. She pulls out her phone, dials it, and says just 3 words. He's there. At exactly 11:43 a.m. The parking lot fills, but not with customers. A matte black SUV pulls up to the entrance. The engine hums, idling. A minute later, another SUV parks beside it. Then a third. There's no music, no movement, just silence. Inside the store, the clerks are still scrolling through their phones, still laughing about the old man who left. Then, the doors swing open. 12 men step through all at once. Their movements are deliberate, unhurried. But their presence, it changes the atmosphere. The air feels heavier. They aren't loud. They don't need to be. Some are in civilian clothes, others in dress uniforms. But all of them carry an unmistakable energy, the energy of men who've been through hell together. You can see it in their shoulders, the way they stand. They aren't nervous, but they scan the room like it's second nature. They cross the sidewalk and enter the store in silence. The chime rings, but it feels different. It feels heavy. They spread out, forming a semicircular formation facing the counter. The youngest clerk barely looks up from his phone. "Welcome in, gents. Looking for anything specific today?" 0.5. He's met with a silence that could cut glass. Then, the oldest man in the group steps forward. His hair is graying, his jaw square, rows of ribbons on his chest. And there, unmistakable, the Navy SEAL trident on his uniform. 1 hour ago, he says, voice measured, even. One of us walked through this door. The youngest clerk freezes. He doesn't know what to say. His eyes flick toward the door, wishing he could escape. But he can't. The older man, the one who had made the joke, nervously shifts in his place. His throat is dry. The first SEAL doesn't move. He just looks at them unwavering, calm, focused. But you can feel the weight of everything he's seen, the sacrifices, and the history behind those eyes. We're not here for trouble, he continues, his voice low, but heavy with authority. We don't need an apology. But when one of us walks through that door like he did, we don't leave him to be laughed at. Not now, not ever. The second clerk, his confidence evaporating, tries to recover. I think there's been some misunderstanding, but he's interrupted before he can say anything more. The first SEAL steps forward, the weight of his experience filling the air. The man who walked in here didn't ask for recognition. He didn't want to be honored. He just wanted to touch a rifle he carried in jungles that you'll never understand. With the smoothness of a man who's seen it all, he places something on the counter. A small, scorched flag patch. It's old, worn, and torn. But the corners are still sharp with the weight of sacrifice. This was pulled off my uniform while I was bleeding out in Helmand, the SEAL says, voice calm but dripping with truth. He carried me out, 22 hours without radio, no backup, with a hole in his side the size of a fist. That man didn't need thanks. He didn't need recognition, but you. You didn't even ask who he was. The clerk stammers, his face turning pale. The room feels smaller now. The SEAL's gaze doesn't waver. You treated him like a problem, like he didn't matter. Another man steps forward, a younger SEAL with a photo in his hand. It's an old, dusty photo of 8 men. Their faces sunburned, their smiles tired but real. In the center of the photo stands the old man they had mocked, the same man they had pushed out the door, the same man who had just wanted to hold a rifle. The photo is placed gently on the glass counter. The clerk looks at it. His face turns pale. I didn't know, he mutters, his voice trailing off. The SEAL nods slowly. Exactly. You didn't ask. And that's why we're here. To make sure you know now. With that, the 12 men turn around, silent, unbothered by the tense atmosphere they leave behind. They walk out the same way they came in, without fanfare, without a sound. But the silence they leave is louder than any gunshot could be. Outside, a small crowd has gathered. Not out of curiosity, but out of instinct. Phones come out, but they're not filming. They're recording this moment, the silence that follows. The kind of silence that reminds you who we should never forget. The SEALs get back into their SUVs. No words are exchanged. One by one, they drive off into the distance. But they leave behind something much bigger than the parking lot they just walked through. In the gun shop, the clerk sits down slowly. His gaze stays locked on the photo. The weight of the moment presses down on him, and for the first time, he truly understands. It wasn't just about an old man asking to hold a rifle. It was about disrespecting something far greater than any of them could ever imagine. At 1:45 p.m., the photo starts to go viral in veteran groups. It's shared, reshared, and shared again. The caption reads, "When you disrespect a SEAL, you get all of them." 0.5. At first, no one knows the backstory. But people share it anyway. Some wonder who the old man was, and that's when everything changes. By 2:12 p.m. The name James C. Beckett starts to surface in the comments. A name most people had ignored until now. One comment says, "He was my uncle's CO in '91. Saved 3 men in Panama. Never talked about it after coming home. It's sudden dime." Another reads, "If that's Beckett, we're talking about a ghost, the kind of guy you only hear about in briefings, never in the news." 0.7. The true story of James Beckett. Someone finds a grainy, scanned military personnel summary buried in an archive. They upload it under the photo. It reads, Master Chief Special Warfare Operator James Charles Beckett, SEAL Team 3, joined in 1966. Retired in 2004, Bronze Star, Silver Star, Purple Heart, multiple unlisted commendations. Service across Vietnam, Mogadishu, Panama, and Iraq. More than 35 confirmed personnel extractions in hostile zones. No autobiography, no press, no interviews, just years of doing the job. By 3:00 p.m., the local news station picks up the story, calling it Silent Visit. 12 Navy SEALs show up at gun store in support of local veteran. Back at the store, the atmosphere doesn't return to normal. The clerks sit quietly, the photo still sitting in front of them, now a symbol of what they had overlooked. Then, as the day wears on, the store manager arrives, pale. He walks straight to the counter, where the Monet Garand is still sitting. He pulls it out, placing it gently beside the photo. He writes something on a piece of paper and slides it into a clear frame beside the weapon. The simple line reads, "He carried it once." As night falls, the store remains quiet. One by one, a small crowd gathers outside. Some just to stand, others to pay their respects. A single white flower is placed against the door. Then, a challenge coin, and a folded piece of paper with a single word, respect.